Adams Archive.
The Michigan Capitol is going to enforce gun bans with artificial intelligence. There's a software that has been created that allows them to, using video surveillance footage in real time, to identify threats. And by threats, they mean anybody who's potentially carrying a weapon, whether it be lawful or unlawful. So let's read this article. It comes from bridgemi.com. And the article says, Michigan Capitol to enforce a gun ban with artificial intelligence. Now, to me, this signifies some dystopian stuff, right? What my concern around this would be is, now that this has been created, you can't put it back in the box, right? You've opened the box. Now there is a software that will allow them to identify people who have weapons on them, whether it be lawfully or unlawfully, because it is all right to carry and bear arms. It is our right to conceal weapons. It is our right to open carry weapons where the laws allow. So now you can be punished for that. You can be approached by police, and you can have this technology that will be implemented in God knows what way, right? We don't know how this is going to be used for sure. How do you make sure that this isn't going to be used to, I don't know, stop people from defending property or defending life at rallies when they're allowed to open carry, right? In walks Kyle Rittenhouse. To me, it's like, this isn't the issue that I have, is not making sure that we're more safe in our Capitol buildings. It's what is the actual use case for this going to be, right? When you're talking about smart cities and things like that, and the totalitarian surveillance, and Michigan itself just put up 400 cameras on one highway alone. 400 cameras Michigan just put up to surveil its own citizens in the name of stopping violent crime. How does 400 cameras on a highway stop violent crime? That's not what it's for. It's to surveil the general public. If you think that that data just stops and they're scrubbing through hundreds of thousands of tens of thousands of millions of cars flying by every single day to look for 1, 2, 3, 4 people, no, there's no return on investment there, right? They want to surveil people. They want to know where you're going, how you're getting there. I challenge you to drive down the highway right now, drive 5 miles in any city without seeing a camera up in the sky watching you drive. It infuriates me. It's so frustrating that you can't even drive your car on a road that they built with your tax dollars without daddy government, big brother sitting there watching you, tracking your license plate. This says authorities in the Michigan State Capitol are beginning to use artificial intelligence to detect any firearms in a bid to increase security amid a growing national wave of political threats and violence. Show me a recent violent gun crime at the Capitol and what justifies utilizing this software. In fact, why don't we use this software at school zones? Why don't we put this software outside of every single school in America? Instead of funding Israel's war, instead of funding Ukraine's war, why don't we take this software and actually use it for an implementation that people want? Because the implementation that people want is not going to Capitol buildings that already have security, armed security at that. Why not put it into school zones? Why not put a video camera outside of every single school that identifies threats that way? I'm cool with that, because you shouldn't be open carrying by a school anyways. Company officials at the Zero Eyes firm announced the deployment Monday, saying Michigan is the first state capital in the nation to use its gun detection technology, which has also been implemented last year at Oxford High School in the wake of the mass shooting. Thank you. The system, which also analyzes footage from existing video cameras to identify brandished or otherwise drawn firearms, represents the latest in the series of escalating security measures at the Michigan Capitol following armed protests in 2020. I'm sure you'll be fine. The Michigan Capitol Commission earlier this year approved installation of metal detectors inside the building and implemented a full indoor gun ban, except for lawmakers with a concealed weapons permit. So the lawmakers get to protect themselves, but not the citizens who are there, right? Interesting. Commissioners last month unanimously approved the lease with Zero Eyes, a Pennsylvania-based firm, which expected to cost about $3,000 a month. The money will come from existing security funding, first proposed by Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who is the subject of a kidnapping plot by the FBI. Orchestrated by the men who also discussed storming the Capitol. You mean the FBI agents? And also the people, I'm pretty sure they got released because it was entrapment. It's just another layer of protection, Rob Blackshaw said, an executive director of the State Capitol Commission. Our latest goal, as we've said from day one, is to decrease any potential of a mass shooting and increase our level of safety for the people who work here and visit here. The artificial intelligence system will tap into existing surveillance video at the Capitol, including inside the building and outside grounds when openly carried firearms are still allowed. Where openly carried firearms are still allowed. So again, if a gun is identified, images will be immediately reviewed by trained specialists at Zero Eyes, including military and law enforcement veterans, the company said on Monday. If those specialists confirm a threat, they'll send alerts and other actionable intelligence to Capitol Police in a matter of seconds, according to the firm. So how do you identify a threat for somebody who's not a threat? Do they wear a red jersey? Do they, Anyways, here's the video by Zero Eye, so you can see what this technology is all about. And we'll go ahead and watch it together.
Zero Eyes is a team of former Navy SEALs and military special operations veterans teamed up with elite technologists with a mission to save lives. We use your existing video cameras, coupled with our artificial intelligence gun detection, to prevent threats rather than react to them.
There's no better purpose right now and no more difficult problem to solve than mass shootings.
We go over the existing security cameras at a building, so on the interior and exterior, at entrances, exits, choke points, bottlenecks inside the hallways. So when a shooter walks up and they take out a weapon, Zero Eye system will pick that weapon up. And our military trained operation experts verify every detection before sending out alerts to local staff, security, and the local 911 center to get the alert to first responders.
It takes about 3 seconds from the time a gun enters the frame of a camera to the time an alert is sent.
So now they know what the shooter looks like, what type of weapon they have,
We have an armed subject in the southwest hall.
how many there are, and what was their last known location.
First responders on scene have access to this information before shots are fired.
That will allow them to go directly to the shooter and prevent more violence from occurring.
Drop your weapon now! Drop the gun! Drop the gun!
So we could really decrease response times and save lives.
Turn around!
So we want to stop threats at first sight, not first shot.
Mass shootings are devastating. Current alternatives are reactive. We need a proactive solution that mitigates gun violence, provides actionable intelligence, reduces response time, ultimately saving lives, while at the same time respecting our privacy and rights. Zero Eyes is that solution. Save time, save lives.
Interesting. So I don't disagree with the premise of the application when it's in the context of school environments, but literally probably only school environments. It just doesn't seem to me that there should be any other use case for this other than schools, because when you put it in the context of government and organizations and what the potential is for this software to be leveraged nationwide, when you have basically a surveillance camera on every single corner. Now, within 3 seconds of anybody ever having a weapon that they legally hold, according to our Second Amendment rights, they can be identified and immediately have authorities contacted for no other reason than lawfully carrying a firearm. Right? And like I said, you have Michigan putting out 400 cameras just on their highways alone with your tax dollars to surveil you. And for $3,000 a month, they too can make sure that you're not actually leveraging your rights as an American citizen. So, when we talk about a surveillance state, that's a terrifying application. And again, under the context of school shootings and this being leveraged within schools and the perimeter of schools, I don't have any problem with that. I think it's a great idea. I like the idea of proactive identification of threats. But it doesn't end there. It won't end there. And that's where I have a problem with it. All right, so that seems to me like, again, I don't think that there's any way to remedy that. The cat's out of the bag, and obviously there's going to be military applications for this and government applications for this, but I don't think that we have to allow it, right? We can push back against our tax dollars being used for these things as long as the application is not being used in a way that is, useful to the people. And useful to the people, to me, does not mean the Capitol building. It doesn't, because they already have armed security there. And we as the people in the United States of America have a right to carry firearms. Now, if this was communist China, just imagine the applications of this in communist China. And that, my friends, is coming to a city near you in the very near future, right? Oh, you actually can identify a concealed weapon right down the road. Maybe they can see people printing on the side of their waistband, and now all of a sudden it bumps your social credit score, right? Like where does this end? And this is obviously just the beginning. So that's more so the terrifying applications of this.
Adams Archive.